Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name's Matt Striker. His name's Joe Pisapia, and this is the place for those that want to dominate. Season-long fantasy, straight-up wagering, whatever it is, we've got you covered. As you can tell, I'm in a good mood. I want to hear from you. Let me know your deep thoughts, your darkest feelings at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Joey P, come on in. It's the holiday time. I want to say a Merry Christmas to all. Feliz Navidad a todos. Y a todos buenas noches. And with that, I bring in you, my Latin lover. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm trying to check my remote control, make sure I don't have the setting on this thing wrong. All of a sudden, you were talking in Spanish. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yes, it is another language. You know, we're the only country that doesn't speak more than one language. But go ahead.
Yes, that is true. But yes, nothing says Merry Christmas like tell me your deep, dark secrets, everybody. Yes, welcome, everybody, to Fantasy Sports Today. It's a beautiful morning, and you got to love the way the NFL structures the end of the season here during our fantasy playoffs, right? The slow burn of watching your playoff hopes die potentially starting on a Thursday night where Puka Nacua has, 8 million points and, Matthew Stafford goes off. Incredible football game too. Best Thursday night football game ever, maybe. And then you have the two Saturday games, then you got the Sunday games, and then Monday night. So it's the slow burn of, am I still alive or am I done in the playoffs? But certainly last night we saw some good action too. The Eagles offense taking a step forward. Saquon Barkley having a good game. That's important for him confidence-wise. Things getting a little chippy at the end of that game. I don't know if I've ever seen more flags thrown at one time in one game. There were no flags left in anybody's pockets. Every single person just flagged. There were guys in the stands throwing out flags. It was crazy. And then last night, obviously, the incredible Bears comeback, the win in overtime. Great catch by DJ Moore. Great throw by Caleb Williams. I've been tough on Caleb Williams a lot. It was a great moment for him, so I want to give him his flowers because he deserves it. But bad news on the other side for the Packers, too. They lose Jordan Love in that game. Concussion protocol, so good chance he is out next week, too. So tough moment here in time for the Packers. A great time to be a Bears fan and a great time to talk about the fantasy playoffs, Matt. It is fun out there in the football streets.
Absolutely, and I just only wish there's more time, but the beauty of it is that there's so many more programs following ours that will elaborate on some of this stuff, like that fight. What does throwing flags do at that point? At some point, you're useless, officials. You really are. You have these hulking humans all in rage, and I'm going to throw a flag. I'm going to throw a flag. Something needs to be done. All right, let's switch gears here and go to some of the top news. A lot of people are questioning what's going to happen with Patrick Mahomes, right? Done for the season with the ACL. Joe, I turn to you. What does this mean for Mahomes? What does this mean for the Chiefs moving forward?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think the Chiefs have to do some soul searching. I think this means a reset for the Chiefs, not a rebuild, but a reset. You've still got the latter part of Mahomes' career that I think is going to be very good. But the problem is now you've got to, kind of restructure this team a little bit. The salary cap going to be an issue for them. So the veterans like, Chris Jones, you have to think about, we're moving on from players like that this offseason. Travis Kelce, I imagine, is going to retire because Mahomes is not going to be back week one next week. That's not going to happen, right? So you're going to get Gardner Minshew this week. So I know this is really the impact people want to talk about is what do I do this week with all the Chiefs that I've got? The Rashee Rice. Well, he's not playing anyway. So what's left? What's left is Gardner Minshew, who's got, as you would say, a lot of chutzpah, right? Like he's got that thing where you get very excited to play football. And I know the Chiefs are not excited because they're not in the playoffs and now they're playing the Tennessee Titans. But if there's one guy that I think can lift the spirits and remind everybody, hey, football is fun, it's Gardner Minshew with his ridiculous mustache and his headband and a guy who just loves football. So Kelsey's still playable today. I think Xavier Worthy in this circumstance is also very streamable today. I think those are the two players you focus on. Gardner Minshew against the Titans in a Superflex. Yeah, I think he's streamable as well. But I think next year the Chiefs have to rebuild the offensive line, rebuild a run game that clearly isn't there to support Patrick Mahomes, and understand that if they're going to have a second window to this dynasty the way the Patriots did, they've got to reinvent the team a little bit the way the Patriots did. And what did the Patriots do? They brought in Randy Moss. They brought in a big-time wide receiver, right? They gave him more weapons as Brady got older to help him out, and they went and had an almost perfect season. And then obviously we know from there we had 3 more championships after losing 2. So there is a second window, a second life for the Chiefs. It's whether or not Andy Reid wants to be a part of it and whether or not they're willing to take those steps backwards. And Mahomes is willing to maybe give up a little money the way Tom Brady used to on an annual basis to field a better roster. Also, big quarterback news here. Tua Tagovailoa signs a big contract last year. This year gets benched. Not for Zach Wilson, mind you, but for Quinn Ewers. Really? So this is going to be fascinating to watch against the Bengals today. What's Quinn Ewers going to do against a terrible defense? We'll find out. Look, in Texas, he was a good quarterback. I wouldn't say great. I wouldn't say an NFL caliber quarterback that I was excited about in the NFL version. But we'll see. We'll see what he does today against a soft matchup. I would still start Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle. I think I'm on the fence with. I think he's a fringy wide receiver 3 at this point. Bam Knight, he goes to the IR. He is out, which means we get Michael Carter taking over this backfield. So if you have Michael Carter shares or if he's on the waiver wire, he is someone you can stream this week without a doubt. And then, of course, I mentioned before, Rashee Rice with the concussion protocol also out. And, it's funny. We mentioned the Patrick Mahomes injury at the top here with the ACL. Yeah. So Micah Parsons out for the year with the injury also occurred last week. Now, you saw last night, without that pass rush, that defense is not the same. So, unfortunately, between the Micah Parsons injury and then the concussion last night to Jordan Love, it's really dark times right now at the end of the season for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and you do a great job there of recapping everything as we continue to look ahead. But the injuries are really the focus. A lot of people investing draft capital in players like Drake London. I was one of those managers. Are we finally going to get some type of return here? And if so, is it worth it playing a guy like Drake London? And then you can move on to some of the other injury news.
Yeah, look, it's worth playing Drake London if he's on the field. But I think the conversation we were having with the Drake London news a few weeks ago was if you're in that playoff bubble, you have to trade him, right? This was a while ago. This is week 12, okay? It's week 16 now. So we talked about this, and if you traded him, you made the right move if you're in the playoffs because he was not helping you get there. Now, it's one thing if you were a team that was sailing into the playoffs, and I had a team that was sailing into the playoffs with Drake London, so I still have him, and I'm playing him today. And I had a team that was on the bubble, and I traded him, and I got Michael Pittman for him, and I'm in the playoffs still today. So I think it's all about the timing of these things. But if you have Drake London and you made it through, you're absolutely going to start him. I love the over in this game, too, between Arizona and Atlanta. These are two teams with nothing to play for, two defenses that aren't great at this stage in the game, and also I think two defenses that are going to say, you know what, I kind of feel like that ticket to Cancun is calling my name. I don't need to lay out a little bit too much here. Expect an over in that contest because I think tackling might be hard to find, but touchdowns won't be.
Yeah, those are two really important elements of football. All right, talk to me a little bit about Tet McMillan, Dalton Kincaid, and then if we have time, talk to me about Marv.
Yeah, I'm actually happy I get to give good news on a Sunday morning. Usually it's everybody who's out, but we got a lot of players back. Drake London back. We're going to get Tetairoa McMillan playing today, too. That's a huge game. The NFC South battle between the Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs got all their weapons back the last 2 weeks and still can't win a game, and they seemed very frustrated, especially Mike Evans at the end of that game last week. So we'll see if they take it out on the Panthers. They are the better football team, but the better football team doesn't always win. The team that plays better football wins. This is what I always coach to my kids. Is just remember that all the time. So Dalton Kincaid, well, yeah, that's what it is, man. Dalton Kincaid also, he is going to be playing today. Matchup against the Cleveland Browns. So last week he was a big contributor. We loved him as a streamer last week in that matchup, and that was a good one as well for him. And then the Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. Now he is also back this week. So that puts a little bit of panic in the room for those people who have Michael Wilson. Not for me. I'm still throwing Michael Wilson out there. The guy has been a wide receiver 1, and I understand the problem is, well, when Marvin Harrison's back, the targets go down a little bit. I still think he's a guy you could play this week. I still feel confident in Michael Wilson, even with Harrison. Wilson-Brissett connection has been so good, you just can't ignore it, even with Harrison's return. And we come back, we're going to talk about Jacoby Brissett's day and a couple other players as well. Who's going over their fantasy projections? Who's going under? We'll tell you when we come back, so don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Round 2 of the playoffs, baby, is here, and so is FST to get you through to that championship. You smell that? We're getting real close to that championship. We'll be right back after this.
This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
It's got a.
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl MVP, multiple Super Bowl chances there, Super Bowl championship as they got it. Nick Sirianni said on the radio, no chance that Jalen Hurts is going to be benched. But by the way, Jalen Hurts didn't play the last 3 games. I think the Eagles would be 3-0 in those games, though. Just saying, Joe.
Oh, wow. How the mighty have fallen. When the Eagles fans turn on their quarterback, it's getting ugly in Philly, folks.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here. Sam Y, the sports guy behind the glass, just doing absolutely everything. Tip of the cap to you, Sam. Thanks. You keep us running. All right, folks, remember at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Those are social media handles. Get your questions in. We're going to do waiver wires. We're going to do start sit in a little while. But right now, we're going to make some money with FST Fantasy Over Under. Now, Joe, all season long, you've been giving out the practical plays. And as I look at a lot of the response on social media, it's been working. So let's continue to do that. For those that are new, I'll tell Joe a player in a situation. He'll tell us over, under, and why. So here we go. I'm on Ross St. Brown, 81.5 receiving yards for the Detroit Lions star. Will he go over or under, and why?
Well, I'm going to go over this one. He has gone over this in every single home game this year except 2. The one where he got hurt in the first quarter on Thanksgiving, and in week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. Every other week, he has gone over this at home every single time. You got a matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know the Steelers defense played well, but it was against Tua and the Dolphins, so let's not freak out. It was a very cold situation there that night, too. Single-digit temperatures. Guess what? We're in a dome. It's temperature-controlled. That's the way Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions like it. So I'm on Ross St. Brown. I'm looking for him to go over this number, smash it. And I know it's a high number, too. I think you can get to 100 today, too. So if you want to ladder bet this, you can. 164 last time we saw him against the Los Angeles Rams. Week before against the Dallas Cowboys, he was at 92. 149 against the Giants a couple weeks before that when we were going back to before the holiday on Thanksgiving. So Amon Ra in a really good spot today. Jared Goff, another guy you fire up today. So I'm looking at the Detroit Lions, high team total against the Pittsburgh Steelers today. They're in their building where they control the narrative, where they control what's going on. And Amon Ra St. Brown is that dude, and he is steady every single season. And every year we look at that first round, and he kind of floats in that middle of the first round. I don't think the guy gets enough credit of how steady he is and what he has done in his career. So shout out, little love there for Amon Ra St. Brown. Big day for him today.
All right, and love from Joe Pisapia to all of you. Ladder bet alert. Yes. When Joe gives those out, you've got to jump on those. Okay, moving on here. The next one is another wide receiver, this time from the Houston Texans. It's Nico Collins. The number is 61.5 receiving yards. Will he go under or over, or why?
Nico Collins has gone over this number every single week except week 12. So from week 9 on. So we're talking about week 9 against Denver, over. 10 against Jacksonville, over. At Tennessee, over. Buffalo was the down week. Then Indianapolis, he had 98 receiving yards, 121 against the Chiefs. And then last week against Arizona, 85. So he is crushing it right now. And I think the Houston Texans are really feeling strong. We talked last week about the Texans winning. We talked about the week before, too, and how they're just holding teams down when they're on their own building, how good that defense is. But even if there's going to be another blowout today, which is very possible against the Raiders, right? I think what you're looking at is you still got to put points on, right? So there will be points. Nico Collins will be part of those points, especially with the running game kind of banged up for the Texans. Expect C.J. Stroud to throw the football. The offense starting to click a little bit. I think the Texans are the most dangerous team right now in the AFC. Nobody should want to play the Texans in the first round, especially if they end up somehow in their own building. That is a really tough spot there. We saw what the Texans did to the Chargers last year, right? And nobody really saw that coming. Justin Herbert had more picks in that game than he had in the entire season, just in that one game. When the Houston Texans defense is on point, good things are happening. And now that that offense is starting to click as well, Nico Collins, a big part of that. So I'm going over with Nico Collins and Amon Ra. Those are the two big wide receiver investments for the week.
All right, I like it. Let's move on now as a familiar face returns to the receiver's room in Arizona. Alliteration aside, that must mean that the quarterback's going to have a good day. Jacoby Brissett, 243.5 passing yards. Over, under, and why? I think I know where you're going here.
Well, it's going to be an over for the guy who's a QB1 every single week. Even against the Texans last week. The Texans, where we said, look, he's been so good. You got to throw him out there, but understand there might be some, expectations where things might not be as good. But he was still fine. It was garbage time. Who cares? Jacoby Brissett gets you fantasy points. Trey McBride's had an incredible season. Kyler Murray's on the bench. He's going to get traded or moved on from in some fashion. And if you're looking at Jacoby Brissett, how about this stat, man? Since he took over in week 6, he has gone over this mark every single week. What are we waiting for? Oh, we're worried against the Falcons now? Come on, this is ridiculous. And now you get Harrison back too. So we got Harrison, he's got Wilson, he's got McBride, he's got the full complement of weapons. Sure, Bam Knight's out, but Michael Carter is going to take over there. So look, Jacoby Brissett has been steady, Eddie. I love Brissett. He's a leader. People were glowing about him a couple years ago in Cleveland. Remember that good start Cleveland got off to? They were like 5-3 that year. And then Deshaun Watson came back and everything kind of fell apart for the Cleveland Browns. But everyone's talking about, yeah, we love Jacoby. Jacoby's great. Yeah, of course you do. He's a good quarterback. He's taking care of business. Yeah, he's a veteran, but he knows what's going on. He knows how to deliver the football. The defense hasn't helped him very much. But in terms of offense, they're putting up points. And from a fantasy perspective, Jacoby Brissett, absolutely a streamable QB1 this week. If you lost Mahomes and you're still alive, Jacoby Brissett, absolutely a guy that I would start this week.
All right, we're going to be answering your start-sit questions in just a little while, but right now let's go to one that's really giving people problems here. Quinn Ewers for Miami, 191.5 passing yards against a porous Bengals defense. What do I do here, Joe? Over or under, and why?
Yeah, look, we have no data here with Quinn Ewers, which always makes this difficult. So for me, this is the under 191.5. And you see this kind of move all over the place with the markets, right? So on Friday, this was way up high here. Some markets you're seeing 189, and some they've even dropped it further. Wherever you can get it at the highest number, you take it and the under, because I'm still skeptical, despite the fact that it's a Cincinnati Bengals defense, that we're going to get Quinn Ewers to go for 200 passing yards. I think something in the 160-ish range is reasonable. Look, if we get too low, then maybe we look at unders if it drops all the way down to like the 165.5 range. But I don't think it's going to happen. But it was as high on Friday as 191.5 in some markets. Again, now you've seen it go down a little bit to 189.5. But I think everyone's just looking at the Bengals defense and not saying, hey, it's this kid's first start. How much do they want to throw the football? How much are they going to rely on the run game that's healthy right now with Devon Achane? I think you're going to rely on Achane a little bit more in this game and try to carve out a victory against a very beatable Cincinnati Bengals team. And on the flip side of this, too, this is an important game for Joe Burrow. A lot of discontent in the last week, a lot of sad emo Joe Burrow in a lot of press conferences. What's going on here? I think you get to the hot weather here in Florida. I think you get Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins back. I think Joe Burrow gets back to being Joe Burrow this week. So I would start him as well and not feel any concern. We'll be right back on FST with more fantasy football.
For those of you who have never watched, we could easily just call it true or false, but we got creative because that's what we do. We create content here on the show. We call it buy or sell. Tucker will lead the Bucs in touchdowns this season. I never ever would have thought that this would even be a buy or sell? But here we are.
It had to be frustrating last night that he stole the one, right? Got the goal line carry there. I don't know when he became the goal line back, but he is. That being said, this is a pretty easy buy for me. I mean, he's got 6. Rashad White has 4. You want to guess how many Bucky Irving has, Craig? How many touchdowns do you think Bucky Irving has this year? You're close. You're close. He's got 1.
Yeah, easy buy. Yeah, they're using him near the goal line too. I did see some metrics that said that Irving has a hard time getting in the end zone, by the way. When it's close, he usually scores from outside. So it does appear that Tucker will lead the team in touchdowns this season. All right, 2 players that are going to be drafted inside the top 5 in fantasy. I probably could say, honestly, George, inside the top 3 in the first round of fantasy football next year. Jahmyr Gibbs will have a higher ADP than Bijan Robinson next season.
Gibbs, I think, is close to your number 1 next year. I do. I think we'll trust him more than McCaffrey because he stays healthy. I'm assuming PPR, and he catches so many balls, so does McCaffrey. But we love the Detroit offense here. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these guys, by the way. All right, I'd be happy with all of them. But I think me personally, if I had, if it was Gibbs, McCaffrey, which I think is really your 1-2 there, I'm going Gibbs.
No, and I think I think next year's number 1 fantasy draft pick, it's not that it's going to be bad. I just think there's a lot of variation going into next year. I could see any of 3 or 4 players as of right now going number 1. I would have said Jonathan Taylor, but he slowed down.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia with you here, giving you everything you need in order to dominate. And whether it's season-long fantasy, even if you're out of the playoff, there's still straight-up wagering where money is to be had. At SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. We're still going to be taking your start-sit questions in a short while, but right now, Joe, it's time to make that money. It's time for the FST Market Watch. Now, this first one here is a fun one. I want to hear your thoughts. AP NFL Comeback Player of the Year for 2025-26. Christian McCaffrey is in the lead at minus 250. But all of a sudden, like a slow-moving brook turning into a raging body of water, Phillip Rivers comes roaring down at plus 550. What needs to happen to cash in on something like this?
Well, I think this is a little bit of a trap here where people are buying this Phillip Rivers narrative. It was fun. Look, I'm not going to lie. 40-something-year-old me was, Saturday after dinner, folding some laundry, watching Phillip Rivers, looking like he might win a football game in Seattle. And I was happy for him. I just like when good things happen to old people. I just think it's great. But unfortunately, things didn't go his way. Had they won that game and Phillip Rivers wins another game and somehow the Colts get into the playoffs, then I think this is very much in play because all these awards are narratives. They're all media awards. It's something we always talk about here on the program. Okay, you're looking for a good story, and it's a great story, but I don't know if it's going to be a successful story at the end of the day. It's very cool what Phillip Rivers has been able to do. He kind of looks like the guy who dresses up at Halloween as a football player, right? Like he just looks a little bit thicker. You're like, oh, look, so-and-so dressed up as a quarterback. Oh, that's a great Halloween costume. But somehow he was able to stay in there, play a whole game. He might not play a whole game this week. Like you got to keep that in your mind too. Like Monday night, tough matchup here against the San Francisco 49ers. Not that their defense is great, but their offense is going to put it on them. But this minus 250 for CMC is still the way to go. Like he is still the guy. Somehow too, I got this at 3-1 a while back. It was still, week 10, it was still like 3-1. And I locked that in, and I still feel pretty confident that at the end of the day, it's Christian McCaffrey. I get it. It's fun. Sure. The return on investment, he won, but I just don't think it's going to be there. But great story. I mean, how did you feel last week watching Phillip Rivers nearly win a big football game on the road against Seattle, who ended up beating the Rams the following week?
That's right. Here's the thing. I was a professional wrestler for 25 years. It's almost half of my life. And when I look back on it or I watch it now, I can't imagine taking some of, we call them bumps, some of the falls. Just my body hurts just watching. I can't. Phillip Rivers, how do you ready yourself for taking NFL caliber hits at, what is he, 44 or something to that effect? Like, it's just that's rough, man. That is really, really rough. So overall, how I felt about it was better him than me. And besides, he's got a lot more money. And doesn't he have 10 kids? Like, I don't know, 10 kids. I can understand wanting to get out of the house, but I would like to be home. I get it.
He's
he
a
wants to get out of the
grandpa.
house.
Matthew, there were kids out there. There were guys tackling him that are younger than his oldest kid. Like, that's crazy stuff out there.
It is. And let's move to those younger players. Go to AP NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year for the season. It's called the segue. Sometimes I nail them. Travion Henderson at plus 170. Emeka Egbuka plus 250. That's the real conversation for me. You can talk about Jackson Dart at plus 470 or Ted McMillan at plus 280. But has Egbuka done enough in the first half of the season to win this award, or does the recency bias and New England's impressiveness, if you will, if that's a word, push Travion Henderson over the limit? Because he has the talk. We've been talking about Henderson all season, Joe.
Yeah, this one is live. Egbuka was leader for the first 8 weeks, and rightfully so. And he was the guy that we were loving. We talked about him for this award, but now it is getting really dicey. I don't think it's going to be Ted or McMillan. I just don't think he's going to get enough press at the end of the day, unless the Carolina Panthers win big today and win that division and has a great game. Then maybe we start to have that conversation. Look, Jackson Dart is a QB. So keep that in mind. If the Giants, win out here the last couple of weeks and blow that number one spot, Jackson Dart could be in that conversation because it is a New York team, big media market, good narrative there. But it is between Travion and Emeka Egbuka at this point too. And I have to give the lean to Travion Henderson because Travion continues to have these big moments, and these big moments become the highlight reels that go national. And these people who vote for the awards, it's a national media thing, and you have those big spots, and the Patriot narrative is good. The Patriots are going to win a lot of awards. I don't think they're going to win MVP necessarily, but Mike Vrabel is going to win Coach of the Year. Maybe Travion wins Rookie of the Year. This one's very live here with a couple weeks left in the season, so I, for one, am very curious to see how it plays out. Emeka Egbuka was the favorite for a long time, but now it's anybody's guess. It is wide open. We'll have to revisit this maybe next week and see how it changes. We'll be right back here. Don't go anywhere. Who's in, who's out of your lineups? We'll tell you right after this.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Hey, welcome back into FST, Fantasy Sports Today. I'm Matt, he's Joe. I promise nothing absolutely hilarious goes on during the breaks. Nothing whatsoever. All right, we've been taking your questions throughout the entire show at SportsGrid TV. He's at Joe Pisapia 17. I'm at Matt Striker TV. Remember, after we do the start sit, though, those lines of communication do not close. Please, all day, all week long, interact with us. All the hosts here at SportsGrid absolutely love to interact. So at SportsGrid TV. Joseph, it is time for Start Sit, everyone's favorite segment. Basically, this is the dilemmas and the problems going on for people, and you're going to make someone a champion here, so no pressure. First one is Jaylen Warren for Pittsburgh at Detroit, or Michael Carter, Arizona. We've been talking about them a lot, versus Atlanta. Who do I start? Who do I sit? And why?
Well, this one is pretty close, and I understand why, because, Jaylen Warren's had a pretty good season, but it's weird because somehow Kenneth Gainwell became Jaylen Warren, and Jaylen Warren became Najee Harris at some point in the season. I don't know how that happened. My brain doesn't compute it. But as we mentioned at the top of the show, Bam Knight is out, which means the full workload is basically going to Michael Carter. And Mari DeMarcado, I don't see him being a big issue in this game. So I think Michael Carter gets the lion's share. And because of the uncertainty of what's going on, and also the fact that it does feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers could be in a hole in this game, then it means you're probably going to be seeing maybe Kenneth Gainwell work a little bit more in that passing game. That's been the favor lately of Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to go ahead and play Michael Carter, take the volume, take as much as I can out of that, and hopefully move on. I still like the over on the total in that game as well. I don't expect a lot of defense. I expect a lot of scoring. I think both teams get to over 24 points in that game. So I think we're going to be in a good spot here for Michael Carter. He has touchdown equity as well, perhaps even more than Jaylen Warren in that scenario too. So give me Michael Carter and the full workload for the Arizona Cardinals over Jaylen Warren in Week 16.
All right, moving on. Buffalo is at Cleveland. The Chargers are at Dallas. This question is Khalil Shakir for Buffalo at Cleveland, or Keenan Allen, Chargers at Dallas. Which way, Joe?
Again, very close here. Keenan Allen, guys, start off red hot, and we talked a lot about him and a lot about, the older player, is he going to slow down a little bit? And he has, but also Justin Herbert's injuries have kind of slowed things down, along with all the injuries to the offensive line. So complicated there for Keenan Allen. And Khalil Shakir, I think, has a bit of a ceiling of what he can do necessarily. Now, look, this is a trickier situation for him in the matchup against the Cleveland Browns. And I think I will give the lean here towards Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen against the Dallas Cowboys, for me, is a player that I think whenever you have the Dallas Cowboys on that slate, you got to take your shots. There's going to be opportunities. Now, QJ is back too, so it does get a little muddy there potentially for the Chargers, and Justin Herbert is not 100% by any stretch of the means. But the Dallas Cowboys somehow continue to be that gift that keeps on giving. So this holiday season, give me Keenan Allen to be that gift, and I'll take my steady 12 points and get out. I think there's a floor with both these guys, but again, not too much of a ceiling.
All right, now talking about these Dallas Cowboys and the gift that keeps on giving, this next question is a tight end question. It involves Jake Ferguson, Dallas versus the Chargers, or Tyler Warren, Indianapolis against San Francisco. That's going to be a real telling game, I think.
It is. The tricky part here with the Cowboy situation is whenever you get everybody on the field, when you get Pickens, when you get Lamb, all of a sudden Ferguson kind of disappears a little bit. Now, Tyler Warren, unfortunately, has Phillip Rivers here, which isn't the greatest situation. Now, he did have 6 targets in that game. That's a positive. But the last 3 weeks, he hasn't had more than 22 receiving yards. So I understand in the rankings, Tyler Warren and the consensus on Fantasy Pros is ranked higher than Ferguson. I'm going to roll my dice with Dak Prescott and see what happens here in this one. So I'll take Ferguson in this one. I think he's got more touchdown equity. I just don't think that Tyler Warren, unfortunately, it's not about talent, right? Like Tyler Warren is the guy that you want on your roster, but it's the scenario surrounding that talent. And I'm not trying to get too cute at the end or overthink things. I'm looking at this very brass tacks, which is, hey,
right,
one guy's playing in the Dome with Dak Prescott, who's been great all year, slinging the football, capable of a 300-yard game easily this week against the Chargers, or a 44-year-old quarterback who just came off, the couch, actually not even the couch, the high school football field. Let's give him a little bit more credit than that. And then to the couch. But that's a tougher scenario, even if Riley Leonard ends up playing at some point in this game too, or Anthony Richardson or anybody else they want to get at some point. Tyler Warren's fantasy value the rest of the year, to me, is highly questionable. So I'll take Ferguson in this scenario.
Yeah, it's really just quite a situation there in Indianapolis. We'll talk more about it when we have some time. Let's keep this going here for the people. CJ Stroud, Houston versus Las Vegas, or Bo Nix, Denver against Jacksonville. What's going to happen in that game, Joe? Who should I start? Who should I sit, and why?
Well, people aren't going to like my answer because everyone's going to go to CJ Stroud. I don't think it's a wrong one. Like, I think CJ Stroud is going to be great against the Raiders. I think if you're looking for the possible downside of Stroud is if they have a big lead, maybe they don't push the football much in the second half. I think Bo Nix is going to be challenged by the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars have played good football. And if you look at the year, Bo Nix is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Is it always pretty? No. In the first 3 quarters, does it drive you crazy? Yes. Does he show up in the fourth quarter every time? He does. So at QB 9 overall in the year, I think I still got to play Bo Nix here. Last week, he was QB 2 against the Green Bay Packers, and people didn't want to start him in that game. And I know Micah Parsons got hurt in that game, but still, I'll still play Bo Nix here. I understand all the reasons why you want to play CJ Stroud. And heck, if CJ Stroud is out there and you don't like your quarterback scenario this week, CJ Stroud is a great streamer. I'm not saying you can't play him, but over Bo Nix, I think I'll still play Bo Nix there. He's been that guy all season long, putting up fantasy points. Stroud has been a little up and down. Yes, it's a great matchup, but again, the downside of that matchup is, do they get up 21-0 and then kind of just pull back a little bit and just, coast through the rest of this game to keep everybody healthy? There's a scenario where Stroud doesn't even play in the fourth quarter, right? If they're up by a lot against the Raiders, there's nothing to play for. Bo Nix, on the other hand, still has a lot of jockeying for position going on with the playoff bracket in the AFC.
All right, on the other side of the break, we're going to be doing the waiver wire ad, so don't go anywhere. But right now, Joe, 2 wide receivers that are back-to-back here. Wide receiver 42 is Xavier Worthy, and I don't want to say in a meaningless game, but – and then there's Jalen Coker, wide receiver 43, in a much different scenario for he and the Carolina Panthers. Who do I start? Who do I sit, and why?
Yeah, look, I think Coker has the higher floor, I'll be honest here. Coker's been under the radar solid. We're going to talk more about him in a second. I think Xavier Worthy is an interesting splash play. Like, if you're down – to Puka Nacua early, and I know a lot of people are, I think you could look at this scenario and say to yourself, okay, look, I'm probably not going to win this week. No Rushy Rice, no Patrick Mahomes, Gardner Minshew, he likes to take his shots. I think Xavier Worthy is very much in play. When he moves into that Rushy Rice role, he starts to move around a little bit, and all of a sudden you get to see Xavier Worthy again. You haven't seen him in a long time. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen X-Man. And I think the point is, going back to that offensive line having issues, right? I mean, you have trouble protecting Mahomes. Not only does he get injuries, but he also doesn't have the time to throw the ball deep down the field or for plays to develop there. And that's been a problem. It's something that they used to be great at in the days of Tyreek Hill and even pretty good at the last couple of years without him. But this last year or two, things have been very different. You see Mahomes running for his life quite a bit, and I don't think you want that anymore. So Xavier Worthy's got the big upside. I think Coker is give me the 12 points and get out, and I think it depends on what kind of matchup you're in. Typically speaking, in the playoffs, I want my safe points, and I want to move on. I want somebody else to make a roster mistake, and that's what I'm looking for here. But in your opinion, Matt, I mean, I don't think that the Chiefs are done with the dynasty just because they're going to have to turn it over. They still got Mahomes, and when you have the coach and quarterback, that's everything in this league, isn't it?
It's hard. It's hard in this league. I think the argument can be made, and I'd love to hear from the people. I think football is one of, if not the hardest sports to repeat. And I know the hockey fans out there and the baseball fans will tell me, but in order to rebuild and go back through and have the dominance, the Chiefs have been having stake the entire time. I don't think this is a fan base and an organization with the current personnel that's going to settle for anything less. I think they may make an attempt at a reset, but I think you're looking at an entire reprogram of the Kansas City Chiefs in the next 2 seasons, Joe.
Yeah, look, it's going to be really interesting to see. And again, do not expect Patrick Mahomes to come back first week of September. Like, that is fool's gold as well. He's going to miss significant time into next year as well. You want him healthy. He's the franchise. But the Chiefs have a lot of turnover next year. We'll be right back with more FST.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
Look,
somebody's got money.
In this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports. Today, Matt and Joe with you here, giving you everything you need in order to dominate at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Those are our social media handles, and this FST Sunday family wants to wish all of you and yours a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, just a happy holiday season overall. And just to give you insight into how much of a family we are, right before we came back on the air, our TD, Jake, came running in and said, Joe, before you do waiver wire ads, I have some start-sit questions that I need to ask you. And we actually delayed coming back on the air just to make sure that those questions were answered. So I want you all to know how important it is that Joe gives out the information. Joe, you are like Joan to Claus. That's who you are here. You just constantly give. Instead of coming down the chimney, you come through the back door. I don't leave you cookies. I leave you fantasy black books. You sign them, and I give them out as presents. Let's talk about some waiver wire ads here, and let's go to Arizona because there's a receiver room issue, but I think that there's enough to go around, and you as well think that there's an option here. What do you got?
You know, growing up as a kid in Brooklyn, I didn't have a fireplace, right? So I was always asking my dad, how did Santa Claus get in our house, Dad? I don't understand. He comes down the chimney. We don't have a chimney here. This is Brooklyn. There's no fireplaces. Like, it's not in my house anyway, not in our apartment. So he was like, well, you know, he goes through the window too. It's all right. So there you go. Easy explanation. So you got to be ready for those questions for your kids. That's what fatherhood's all about. Right? I can imagine the questions your kids ask you. All right. First guy off the waiver wire, only 12% rostered overall. A little bit higher on sleeper is Michael Carter. We talked about how he's going to get the lion's share of the workload. He's a very good streamer this week. I think Michael Carter, you're looking at probably 20 touches in this game, I would think. Probably about 15 carries. Maybe he'll work in the passing game a little bit as well. And again, this is my favorite over of the week. I think we go over this number. Atlanta, Arizona, two defenses that can give up points, two defenses that have nothing to play for. Nobody wants to get hurt this time of year tackling somebody. They just don't. So the football instincts kind of scale back a little bit in games like this late in the season. So I expect Jacoby Brissett and even Kirk Cousins to have a pretty good day today. But I think Michael Carter, again, very streamable. To me, he is a solid RB2 play. If you're looking for one and you don't like your options you have, we talked about playing him over a guy like Jaylen Warren even. And I think that is a very good scenario here in week 16 to get you to that championship week in week 17.
Yep, Arizona's offense can still give you dividends. All right, one of the questions that our TD was asking Joe before we came back on the air was about Jalen Coker. He's out there. He's only 7% rostered. Maybe after watching this show, that's going to go up. But Joe, talk up Jalen Coker.
Yeah, Coker, another one, too, that very steady the last couple of weeks. You know, he's got to play at a small school, a player that I liked a lot going into the draft process. Injuries, unfortunately, have derailed him a little bit, and then some suspect quarterback play at Carolina haven't made it better. Now, we'll see if the Carolina Panthers move on from Bryce Young this year or not, but they're going to have a chance to make the playoffs right now and win this division. That's the way things have lined up. The Panthers are not a great team. On paper, the Buccaneers are a much better team. They got to start playing like a much better team. They were making excuses for the injuries, and okay, that's fair. Baker Mayfield's been banged up. He's playing hurt. You missed Bucky Irving for a couple weeks. Well, you got him back last couple weeks, and he hasn't necessarily led to W's. You get Mike Evans back. You get Chris Godwin back and healthy. Everybody's back and healthy, and we're still not winning games in Tampa. Enough is enough. Tampa's got to make a stand here. But the good news is with all those pieces back, this should be a game where there's points. And where there's points, I'm looking for fantasy numbers, and I think Jalen Coker on the other end of that, as they're trying to catch up, has a lot of opportunity here. Ted McMillan is the number one target, but he gets all the attention, which allows Coker to work a lot in those intermediate routes. So I like Coker. I think he's got a little bit of touchdown equity as well in this contest.
Joe, I like it. I like the X's and O's talk. For those that don't know, Joe is a wonderful coach as well as a mentor and a father. So let's talk some football here, Joe. The Miami Dolphins have a greenhorn quarterback under center here. Where would this quarterback be looking for some outlets and some safety? How can we capitalize on this?
Well, look, Darren Waller is in a good spot because even with Quinn Ewers as quarterback, the Cincinnati Bengals are the very worst in the league against tight ends. We're always looking to stream tight ends. You can go back to that night a few Mondays ago. Remember when the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing them and every single tight end scored? Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, everybody scoring in that contest there. So to me in this one, again, Darren Waller, streamable tight end. If you have Tyler Warren or Darren Waller, dare I say Darren Waller's a little bit more interesting this week. I just think there's more fantasy upside here. I do believe the Bengals will put points on the board and Joe Burrow will bounce back, which means you're going to have to press the football at some point. So Darren Waller, I think this particular week is very streamable, and the fact that he's available in 70% of leagues tells you, you know, this time of year, you know, a lot of teams are just kind of set. So we're looking for an edge anywhere we can get one. And I do think the matchup is still good enough, despite the question mark surrounding Quinn Ewers, that Darren Waller is still a guy we can stream this week. Do I feel great about it? No, I would feel much better if it was Tua. And why we're sitting Tua, because he, you know, a couple of weeks bad in the cold. Like, he doesn't play well in the cold. What? This is not news. We've known this forever. So I don't get it. I don't get why we're paying Tua giant contracts when he's one hit away from a career being over. I don't get why we're benching him now a year later. The Miami Dolphins have a lot of questions to answer for at the end of the season.
All right, our producer, Sam Y, the sports guy, has let me know that we have room and time for two more. Give me a quarterback and then give me a defense. Go.
All right, quarterback here. J.J. McCarthy is who I'm looking at streaming this week against the New York Giants. Giants defense have been suspect all year. And look, J.J. McCarthy's put together a couple good games here in a row. Now, here's the problem. Everybody keeps complaining because Justin Jefferson's not getting fantasy points. Well, look, he basically had a touchdown called back last week. There was an opportunity for another one, too. So this is one of those trust the process kind of plays. J.J. McCarthy in Superflex is a good start this week. He's probably not available in your Superflex league, but if you're in a deeper league and you lost Mahomes, maybe McCarthy is available, and he's been playing good football the last couple weeks. J.J. on the other side, the other J.J., Justin Jefferson. People ask me all the time, do you play him this week? The answer is yes. This is the Titanic player, right? You go down with the ship while you're playing a violin. Justin Jefferson's that guy. And then on the defensive side here, look, I like the New Orleans Saints defense against the Jets. The Saints have played quietly good football here in the second half of the season. Tyler Shuck has steadily improved every week. Is Tyler Shuck special necessarily? I don't think so. But I think this team has shown you that Kellen Moore was the right coaching hire. They're figuring things out. They're playing hard. They're playing good football. And I think against the Jets at home, they will put up some good fantasy points here. So I like them to get a turnover, at least 2 potentially in this game as well. So those are my picks off the waiver wire for Week 16. When we come back, what are we watching in Week 16? We will tell you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on SportsGrid.
I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got to.
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show.
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter.
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going
I'm
to
saying
these
if I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. That's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me.
They smashed
I told them
you.
to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. Somebody's
in this
got
economy,
money.
in this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today, where everyone is standing underneath the mistletoe. I'm Matt, he's Joe. I want to thank Sam Y, the sports guy, TD Jake, and the entire SportsGrid crew. From our family to yours, a wonderful, warm, happy holiday season. Joe, before we get into 3 and Out, I just want to know your overall thoughts on just the holiday season in general, because you're normally just a jovial guy all the time. In March, you're a happy guy, but now around the holidays, what's your go-to feel-good Christmas tradition?
Oh, feel-good Christmas traditions. Well, look, we've got cookie making starting tomorrow, so that will happen. My daughters and I will begin the cookie making. We'll make the Italian ricotta cookies. We'll do the chocolate chips. We got a nice hot cocoa cookie recipe that I discovered last year we made with the little marshmallow on top that gets a little bit of that burnt marshmallow there. That's very nice. But there's a lot of traditions around the holidays. I think that's very important. I think the other thing that's important too is recognizing when to make some new traditions. And I think sometimes you got to evolve things. And as your kids get older, you got to make sure that you keep evolving these things. And that's very fun. We're going to my friend's house today. We're all going there for something he calls Soupsmas. That's right. Everybody brings a different soup. And then there's a winner at the end. They're going to declare, there's voting, is a whole thing. I haven't been to Soupsmas. They've been doing this the last couple of years. It sounds fun. He's got a bunch of kids that are now out of college. This is like the thing where they all come together because the holidays get so crazy. And I love that. I love that. Like, you create new traditions because as you get older, it's harder to keep everybody together in that spot. So I think the old traditions are great. You try to keep them as many as you can, as long as you can, and then look for some new ones. Matthew, you just started here with the fatherhood thing. Yeah. So what is your favorite of the holiday traditions that you've been doing here with your kids the last couple of years around this time?
Well, I'm a big stop and smell the roses guy because of things that have happened to me in my life. So just taking the second to we like to go outside a lot, look around outside, see the nature, see the beauty, and try to make them understand that it's not just one day or 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year where we feel these kind of things in our heart. I don't want to get sappy, but having an overall appreciation and gratitude and a peace, because to me, that's what the holidays are about, finding that peace. Having a peace within can allow you to move forward and really be productive in all the things in your life. And I want to swing back to football here because you said something about creating new traditions and creating new realities. Let's talk about Kansas City and their response to what lies ahead of them now. Patrick Mahomes out with the ACL, this team out of the playoffs, Travis Kelce on his way out, I would imagine. What are the new traditions that Chiefs fans can expect for this time of year.
Yeah, the Chiefs are only 2.5-point favorites in the game against the Tennessee Titans, a 2-win team. So let that sink in for a second here, right? I mean, that is falling very far from the Christmas tree. That's like that ornament that falls and it keeps hitting spots, and then it catches on the branch for a moment, and then it continues to fall, and then eventually it shatters at the bottom of the tree on the skirt. That's kind of where we are. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they respond. Again, I think if there's one antidote for how the Chiefs are feeling, it's the Gardner Minshew energy. And I believe that. I believe the Gardner Minshew. I don't think you go to Tennessee and you lose this game. I really don't. But the Chiefs really have to look and say, okay, we had this incredible run. How do we keep it going here? Because there is a second window here with this quarterback. You know, Tom Brady had an injury as well. Now, his that year was it week 2 or 1? It was very early in the year where that injury happened to Tom Brady when he had that issue with the Pats. And I keep, comparing them because it's very comparable, because you had a team that had a dynasty, and then the quarterback got hurt, team got old around him, and then they said, let's reinvent ourselves. And I think that's what you have to do here if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. So this offseason, this draft is going to be fascinating. It's going to be the highest pick they've had in a long time as well. So we'll see. I think if there's one organization that's ready to do it, it's the Chiefs, but you got to make some hard decisions. And what the Pats always did was said goodbye to players that were going past their prime time and time again, that were fan favorites, in the best interest of winning. And I think that's something that fan bases have a hard time with sometimes. And I think organizations have a hard time with sometimes, but that is what you have to do if you're going to win long-term in this league. It's not about sentimentality. It's about the mentality to win. Tampa Bay, Carolina, that's another huge game. This one with the division up for grabs. Tampa's put themselves in this situation, so no excuses. Go win this football game. Otherwise, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs, okay? You've been the team there the last 2 years in that division. Carolina's played okay football. Tampa's played well beneath their ability. That's a big deal. We'll see how this one works out. And then New England Patriots and Baltimore Ravens. We haven't talked a lot about this one yet, but the Baltimore Ravens, look, frankly, haven't played great football all year. And I don't think the New England Patriots are going to lose 2 games in a row. I just don't see that happening. They were up 21-0 against the Buffalo Bills. And I think there's a certain thing for a younger team. You have to learn how to win those games sometimes when the team's coming back on you. And they didn't. And Josh Allen was fighting for his playoff life there. And you saw it. Good on them. We'll see what Lamar has in store, but I don't think that defense is any good for Baltimore, so we'll see what happens. All right, that'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. From Matt Striker, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Have a great holiday season in Week 16.
This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
I
think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl MVP, multiple Super Bowl chances there, Super Bowl championship as they got it. Nick Sirianni said on the radio, no chance that Jalen Hurts is going to be benched. But by the way, Jalen Hurts didn't play the last 3 games. I think the Eagles would be 3-0 in those games, though. Just saying, Joe.
Oh, wow. How the mighty have fallen. When the Eagles fans turn on their quarterback, it's getting ugly in Philly, folks.
The Early Line, only on Sport.